Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 12th of January, comes to you from London. And the big news overnight, of course, the strikes in Yemen, and just seeing that the markets are really taking that pretty much in their stride. We are seeing the oil price up a bit, but let's just go through the charts. So looking at the price targets, we are still looking at this dollar is bearish on the daily chart. On the 60-minute chart, we are really in a sideways range here. And that means much the same for the euro, sideways range, waiting for a downside target to be activated. But on the medium-term chart, we do have this upside target in trend to 118 for the euro. Looking at the Japanese yen, we are seeing here no clear targets on the daily or the 60 minutes. So we're just not seeing the thrusts there. And if we look at sterling, our GDP numbers out this morning, which were better than expected, and we do have upside targets to 128.90, 129. So let's say 129 is the target. We're sitting at 127.65, so a bit further to run. There's an even a bigger target here. And we are above the cloud. That's really as much about dollar weakness. Of course, Bitcoin's been quite a big story this week. We've still got these big upside targets on the daily chart. This target given back in March to 50,000 when the price was at 27. It's taken longer to be met. But interestingly, we've got train tracks. We've got three upside targets to 51,000, 61,000 and 66,000. And really that is the progression that we're looking to see there into the autumn, into the 60,000s. And of course, that might happen faster than that. But the interesting thing is we do have these upside targets. You can't ignore the targets. Looking at the Nasdaq, we're just waiting for this upside target to be activated on the daily. We do have an upside target in train on the 60-minute. Although we've got a downside target as well. And the key thing is, can we make it above this previous high? So that's really just resolving the targets at the moment. A bit of a mixed picture. We will see this target activated if we can make a new high, having had this pullback. And looking at the futures, the S&P Future is up slightly. So again, market is taking last night's attacks very much into its stride. We again do have a downside target potential for activation here on the S&P, but we're a long way from activating that at the moment, and we are above the cloud on both targets. So it's still too early to say that the markets are really looking that fearful. Looking at the FTSE Future, not looking so good here. We've got this downside target. We have had a little bit of a relief rally, but it really has been wandering sideways. I mean, 7,000 for the FTSE is a level that we've been at for years and years and years. So it's really UK stocks have really just struggled generally. The DAX in Germany is up 1%, so that's looking better. We've got mixed targets here as well, so it's just a bit of a mixed picture generally. And we're just seeing how this big relief rally, and then we've run out of steam, lower high, lower low, just looking like that trend is coming to a bit of an end. Looking at Tokyo, this market looking still very, very strong indeed. Upside targets there on the daily and on the 60-minute chart. So we are just pushing higher there with Tokyo, so looking very strong indeed. Looking at the Sensex in India, that's looking stronger, and really still one of the best looking markets. If we look at the long-term target for India, still absolutely amazing with these targets, some 28% higher, so really quite key there when we look at that. Coming back to the Australian market, we're down slightly. Interesting how this target was given, not quite been reached. We've now got a position playing out where a tussle the targets. Will we activate the downside or we activate the upside? We have come back below the cloud on the 60 minutes, so not looking that great. We'll look at crude oil in a minute, along with the energy mix, but let's look at some of the other things. Gold up 0.5%. Still do have a downside target here on the short-term chart, but the medium-term chart, 23.93 is the target. So that is really quite key. And if we look at the long-term chart, we've got a target to 36.73 on the weekly chart. That's the thrust target that's just recently been activated with this new all-time high in gold. So really quite significant, but not until the end of 2026. So you need to be just tempering that view when you see it. How long is it going to take? Taking a look now at some of the tech stocks. Apple's had a bit of a recovery. That's actually bounced off that 180 level, but still not yet activating an upside target, a new upside target, and quite a big one. Just failed at this 200 level, and so that's really quite key there. If we look at Microsoft, that's actually looking stronger with upside targets. And of course, Tesla in the news this morning, they've had to shut down their German production because of the Suez crisis for the next couple of weeks. The stock has got these downside targets and an upside target, but short term, we are seeing the downside there as well. Quick look at US 10 yields. Really quite interesting here that we have these targets. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we had targets really to 4.19%. We didn't quite get there. We did get above 4%, and we're now back below 4%. So quite interesting that we're seeing that US inflation number was slightly higher than expected yesterday, but that hasn't really affected the bond market that much. Taking a look now at the energy mix, we start with Brent Crude. Now this is looking more bullish, and everyone's going to say, well, that's because of what's going on in Suez, but the reality is these targets were in place already. So these upside targets, 83, 76, 84, 35. Let's settle on 84, shall we? That's the price we're looking to for crude, and of course, if we do get to 84, we then activate big upside targets here as well. So that's going to be quite key looking at that. So looking at US NatGas, we're waiting for this big target to $5 to be activated. We're quite close to that. Looking at the 60-minute chart, we've got these targets to 361, 362 off different buying thrusts. We do have a little downside target here, 11% lower, but we've got this new upside target, train tracks, pointing to the 370s again. So, and it's still a very bullish chart going up the hill. So you just can't ignore that fact. Looking at coal has been pretty weak lately. We're seeing here these downside targets to 80 and 83. They were given quite a long time ago, and we see that they are, that we are just deteriorating to those levels. There's one even as low as 67, but for the moment, coal is bearish below the cloud, not looking great. And on the 60-minute chart, we've still got a move lower there as well, because the data is not as strong on 60 minutes. Looking at carbon emissions, this is a really clear downside target picture. These targets have been in train for quite some time on emissions, one given in July. That's been met. Another one that was given in September, that's been met. It was met earlier than the target projection. And we've got another one pointing to $58. €58. And for the moment, we are really just playing that track at the moment, and we are below the cloud. This relief rally was quite sharp, but we've come all the way back. Watch for new lows on emissions. And we see here this target was actually given back at 75 to the 70 area, and it was met very, very quickly. And if you look at the 1 minute chart, you'll see more targets there as well. Looking at the TTF, Dutch gas is looking a little bit better this morning, but we do still have a very, very mixed picture. This €30 mark for TTF is really, really critical. So we're just waiting to see if that's a floor. We are still below the cloud there on the 60-minute chart, so it's hard to be bullish. Below the cloud on the daily as well. And if we look at the very short-term chart, this is the 1 minute chart with the targets on. And we see here yesterday we were given a target at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That target was met first thing this morning. Another new target given, but we've since just deteriorated, failed to make a new high. This is just ticking away here in real time. If we activate this downside target, we pull back to around 30.18. That €30 level is really one to watch. So keep an eye on that. Looking at MBP, we've got a similar picture, of course. Downside target still dominating, so really quite key there. And 75 is the critical level there to hold. German power is still looking pretty bearish. Downside targets all the way. 77.80 is the target. We've got another one here to 76.40 on the short-term chart. So you really, really cannot ignore that. So that's it for today. Until Monday, which is Martin Luther King, so the US market will be closed. But until Monday, happy charting. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.